Welcome to episode 8 of the Texas Irish Twins Diaries. In today's episode, we talk about high school, the years that shaped us. We talk about identity, popularity, sports, dating, and obstacles. High school might be only 4 years, but the memories and lessons can last a lifetime.
Hi everybody, welcome back to the Texas Irish Twins Diaries. Today we are on episode 8 and we are going to be talking about our high school years, the years that shaped us, and so excited to dive in. We are coming off our Valentine's wine weekend, so we have opted not to taste wine because we indulged a little much this weekend.
Yes, we're going to need to take a break. So today is definitely recovery day, but I know Becki is still going to continue our tradition of sharing one of the wines. And we've briefly mentioned this wine, so it's so exciting every year that they release this wine because you just never know what type of burst of flavors you're going to get.
And it was coming, or it is coming, with a lot of flavor in a very good way. I am typically not a huge white wine fan, but this Mary Ruth, we have the 2025 vintage, and we tasted it this weekend at the Valentine's Day dinner. They paired it with a citrus creme brulee, and it was amazing. And so a little bit about the Mary Ruth. It honors the heart and matriarch of William Chris Vineyards, mother to William, or Bill Blackman. He's one of the owners of William Chris Vineyards. And it says her steady love and faith led him to plant his first Texas vines in 1983. And this graceful white blend celebrates her lasting mark on their story. So yes, dedicated to Bill's mom. And here's a little breakdown on all that goes into this wine. So we have 30% Muscat Blanc, 26% Malvasia Bianca, 22% Sauvignon Blanc, 12% Semillon, 10% Blanc de Bois. And so you can just taste the citrus notes in this. It just
like bursts in your mouth.
Burst in your mouth. This is going to be perfect on a hot summer day here in Texas.
As Randy mentioned, it's a porch pounder, so be prepared if you give it a try. And now, after you just said what all the blend is, it makes a lot of sense why I like it, because I'm a huge fan of the Sauvignon Blancs, the Malvasia Bianca, and the Blanc de Bois.
Yes, I love Blanc de Bois as well. So if you make it out to William Chris Vineyards, definitely give this one a try.
This one tends to sell out pretty quickly, so if you love it.
Yeah, they were having a pretty good discount, and so we definitely stocked up this weekend.
Yes. Well, let's move right into the high school years. This one's going to be an interesting episode because I feel like you and I had very different experiences when it came to high school. And I think it's just a good way to share that, even as close as we are, we had a different experience. So can you imagine the types of experiences that others probably experience in high school that you're maybe never even aware of? Mm-hmm. So I think this one's going to be really interesting. I think even though it's only 4 years, I think that you learn so much in those 4 years, whether you realize it at that point in your life or not. Mm-hmm. And so I think, those lessons, it'll be interesting to explore how they've impacted us further on in life.
It's going to be interesting to reflect for me because I feel like once I left Johnson City and I went to college, I didn't look back, and I always said I have no interest going back to Johnson City. I'm moving on and up from this experience. So yeah, it will be interesting to reflect.
Definitely. So all right, so let's see, let's start with just what was your, let's just kick it off with like, what was, and we'll focus on Johnson City because we spent 3.5 years of our high school there. And so that's probably really the biggest foundation of our high school experience. But like, what is your experience?
So like from a positive standpoint, I loved that, you know, before Johnson City, I had kind of taken a break from basketball, but then moving to Johnson City, I felt like it was a way for you and I to connect on the basketball front again. And so for me, that was definitely a positive. I think that if I would not have done basketball, it would have been extremely hard for me to fit in. I just wasn't confident, you know, growing up like you were. It was very easy for you to make friends, and for me, it wasn't as easy. But in the same token, like I felt like I didn't really belong to like a certain group. I kind of was friends with, you know, a lot of different people in high school, but it just wasn't an easy time for me.
Yeah, mine was certainly different. I think I'm always a little bit more shy and observant when I go into, and I'm still this way. Like I won't just completely jump in. I am very outgoing, but I need a minute to get familiar with my surroundings and the people, and so I am a little bit of an observer, and I feel like, you know, initially that's how I was, but I do make friends very quickly, especially with people that, you know, and I've found this throughout my life as well. Like I pretty well know pretty quickly whether I'm going to like somebody or not, and whether we're going to have a, you know, a good foundation for a strong friendship. And so I feel like in Johnson City, I wouldn't say that I had like a huge group of friends, but I had like a few core friends that, you know, I really enjoyed spending time with, especially in my senior year. That's where I feel like I had a set group of friends, and, you know, a lot happened that year. So, and I know we'll unpack a little bit more deeply into that, but I feel like you know, basketball really helped make those connections, and just, I don't know, I feel like too, the teachers in Johnson City most of them were really, really good. And I feel like there was just a lot more respect. I'm sure there was bullying that went on, but I don't feel like we necessarily experienced that aspect of it. I felt like it was just a bunch of people from a small town with, that were mostly welcoming.
Yeah. I don't ever feel like I felt bullied. I enjoyed life outside of school more than life inside of school, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that it's weird because like the people that I was in class with, I don't have any really memories of being great friends with those people. It was more people like either above me, I think above my grade mainly. Just didn't really I just didn't feel like I fit in, so it wasn't the best time for me.
Mm-hmm. How different are you now?
I think I'm a lot the same, but I feel like I let my goofiness out more now than I did when I was in school. I was just very reserved. It just wasn't easy for me to come out of my shell like it is now. And I'm still reserved. Like I'm kind of the same way in that I don't like let people in right away, or it takes me a minute to like decide if I like someone or not. So I don't know.
I do feel like, you know, some of how I was in high school still carries over to today. Like the competitiveness, like I'm very particular about the games that I play because I do get very competitive, and so that was something that I always thrived on, especially playing basketball in high school and that type of thing. But I certainly carried that through later on in life. I still have that. And I gotta be real careful sometimes because I don't like to lose.
Yeah.
So I will say too, like I feel like, I don't feel like I felt like I needed to fit in, but I do think there was the traditional popular kids versus the not so popular kids. And so I think that exists in every high school experience. And I think, I don't know that I was never I wouldn't call myself part of the popular crowd, but I was just kind of somewhere in the middle, I feel like.
I think you were more so on the popular side than I was.
That's probably true. I guess I just never, it's interesting because I don't think I see myself that way.
I see you that way.
And I don't think it's a bad thing. I have a different perception of myself, I think, than maybe you did. But again, I think being involved in sports kind of drove a little bit of the crowds that we would talk to.
That, and also like the livestock showing and being in 4-H, like it did in a lot of ways give you two different, sets of people that maybe you were friends with. Like if you didn't do the 4-H, then maybe you wouldn't be friends with that type of crowd.
I will say, I feel like I always tried to be considerate of others because I do remember, I never had that sense where, I don't want to be friends with somebody because of their status or who they were.
Oh, yeah.
Because that was not how we were raised. And I think we did a really good job of that. But going to a smaller school, like Johnson City was a 2A school at the time. So I think my entire graduating class was 60 something people.
Mine was 32.
Oh, yeah. So it was a small school. And so I think in that environment, you don't naturally have as much of the variation in how people are raised, and you don't have as much of the bullying. Like I said, I know that exists everywhere, but I think it was just a different environment to grow up in.
Yeah, I would say more so than in a bigger school. Most people probably did get along, whereas maybe they wouldn't if they were in a bigger school. Another thing that I think it just made it hard for me growing up is like I always felt like people would be like staring at me because of my glass eye, and so I think it always just kind of made me more timid and just afraid to talk to people.
Right. Yeah, I would say like I remember in junior high, I do remember getting made fun of for some of the clothes that I wore because we weren't rich. We had clothes mainly from Walmart or, hand-me-downs or thrift stores or whatever they were. And I don't really remember feeling that in Johnson City. I mean, we still weren't, very well off, but I always took pride in the things that I wore and being true to my own style. And I think that was something that I remember fondly of setting a foundation for me future state too, because I was always comfortable no matter what being who I was. I'd wear hot pink pants,
Well, and I think more people in Johnson City were maybe on the same level as us than when we lived out in Grady.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
So,
yeah.
Let's see.
One of our little questions we had on here was, were the popular kids actually happy? I don't know. I don't really remember. Like, I feel like everybody was happy. Mostly.
Yeah. Like, today, I think teachers may have more depression than what we did when we grew up, and I wonder if social media is part of that.
So I felt like social media was not
It
a
wasn't
big deal back, and we're talking
like 1998, 19.
right. So we're talking a little ways back now. So I don't feel like social media was as big of an influence that it is today. But I also think, to your point on the teachers, I feel like the students are not the same.
Mm-mm.
It seems like, based on things that I hear from people that I work with or just people in general that I interact with, kids are mean today. And there's not all of them. Some of them can be very mean, and there's not a lot of respect. And I'm sure some of that is influenced by things that are going on at home, the environment that they're living in, those types of things. But I just think it's totally different today.
Yeah, they're mean not only to their fellow classmates, but they're mean to the teachers themselves.
Yes.
But it's the world that we live in is just a lot different.
It very much is. I mean, I don't know that I want to go too far down that path, but I think we just had such a good, strong experience because of the people, the teachers, the school itself. I think it really contributed. But I think social media is a huge driver today compared to what it was back then.
Yeah.
We didn't even have I didn't even have a cell phone until I was 18.
Yeah, I didn't have one until my first year of college.
So, and I think I had to pay for it myself. So
yeah,
it was not something that was just, given or handed over right away. Certainly had to work for it.
Yeah.
Again, goes back to that hard work and work ethic. But, a huge part of our experience was basketball and was 4-H. And I know we'll dig deeper into those into, other episodes. But, I think when I think about both of those, it just goes back to, again, that discipline and that hard work and, just being a part of something was so very important, I think, to our overall being who we are today.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know, did we talk about, did popularity matter to you then? I guess we kind of touched on that. Does it matter now?
I don't feel like it matters now, just because I've gotten so good at just living in my own world. I don't know. I don't feel the need to impress people or go out of my way to, I'm certainly not mean to people, but I don't go out of my way to be popular or be noticed or recognized. I live my life, I think, for me and my family.
Yeah, same.
Oh, gosh. Oh, dating. That's an interesting topic.
You can take this one. I mean, let's face it, I didn't date in high school.
Well, for a lot of people, like, dating is a big part of their high school experience. And I think it does depend on the person and the interactions. And I will say, like, when we first moved to Johnson City, I feel like early on I met Zeb, who was one of my very, very favorite people in this world, still is, even though we don't, have a lot of interaction today. But I was a freshman, he was a senior, and he was the nicest person. And I think even our whole family adored him. He was just, a genuine person. And I don't know, we hung out for a little while, and then he moved on to other things, which was a little devastating at first, but it was fine because we truly became, later on, we really became best friends. I feel like we were really good friends, and he's just somebody that really had a strong impact on my overall high school experience because he helped me through some really tough times. And he's just someone that I look back on very, very fondly.
Yeah, he was definitely a good guy. he treated me well as well.
Mm-hmm.
So.
I think my most profound relationship really was with Cody. I think he and I dated for a year and a half. So I would say it was like my first big relationship, like long relationship, which for high school, I guess that's pretty good.
Yeah.
And so just, you know, a lot of first experiences with him, just learning how to be in a relationship. And you know, his mom was, gosh, one of the most wonderful people. I just adored her and spent a lot of time with them. And I think that could have been challenging for you because he and I were pretty inseparable.
Yeah.
During that time.
Yeah, I can remember this one time that we were at our dad's house for the weekend, and growing up, I felt like we took care of our siblings a lot. And I can remember Dad asking us if we would babysit so he and Deana could go out. And you're like, oh, well, I have plans with Cody. And I just like got so down because I'm like, all I do is watch kids and this and that. And Dad got really mad because
I don't even remember this.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Oh my goodness.
So.
Well, then I started pushing the limits because there were no sleepovers. But I pushed the limits on that one. And I was like, well, what if he comes over here? What if this? And so then I think I used you a few times on that one.
Yeah, and then there was one summer we were working for our dad, and y'all were going to Schlitterbahn or something, and so I was going to be by myself, and I'm like, can I please go with them? And
oh, yeah.
Just always the third wheel over here. I just like, in high school, there was just, I feel like I was just more mature, and there was no guy that really stood out to me as like dating material.
Well, and Cody wasn't even from Johnson City. He was at Lake Travis, and his mom was friends with somebody, and that's how we met or whatever, just through random people. And so that was interesting too at my age to be dating someone for so long that wasn't even at the same school.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I look back, it was a good experience. Don't have anything negative to say there.
Yeah. Well, and then there was this one time where I think you were going on a date with someone else, and I had to go along with you. Remember?
Okay, this is where Deana pushes the limits sometimes, and yeah.
Our parents were not fond of this person, and so I had to tag along on that date. I don't know how much of a chaperone I was, but
yeah, I think we got in trouble after that adventure. So this individual was a bad boy, and I don't know, he showed interest in me, and I guess I just said, okay, let's see where this goes. And we were going to a football game, I believe is the end result of where we ended up, but him and his friends provided some alcohol, and I mean, we really hadn't been exposed to drinking that much at that point. And so we did not know our limits. And I think we probably had 2 wine coolers.
But I was...
And we showed up to the football game, and I guess people could tell that we had been drinking. And it did not go well. Even Dad lost it on this person. He was not impressed. And yeah, that was the end of that.
Yeah, that ended pretty quickly.
So we moved on from that. And then I think the last big one really was my best friend in high school and we dated twins. And so that was a lot of fun. That was a really cool experience. And I don't know, I think that was probably one of the things I enjoyed the most, just because, you know, we had this was, you know, you were gone to college at this point, because that would have been most of my senior year. And yeah, it was fun because her and I and these 2 boys, we just, you know, we went and did everything together.
Yeah.
And so it was just a lot of fun. And then, I mean, you graduate high school and you go your separate ways. It works out for some people. Wasn't meant for us, which was totally fine. But I would say I had some pretty good. I didn't really have bad boyfriend experiences that I remember. I mean, there's the typical heartbreak and stuff because you think it's the end of the world sometimes, but it's not.
again, I wouldn't know.
Oh my gosh! Yes.
Y'all are all thinking, "Oh my gosh, Becki is like boring."
No, but I will say there's a lot of value in probably not dating in high school, because what if you do get sucked into something that holds you back from some of the experiences? So there's so many different ways it can go, and I think if I had been in a very serious relationship, I would have held myself back even further, because I did end up meeting someone and it did hold me back.
Yeah.
That is for another time and place, because that one was not as good of an experience.
Well, that's post high school. So
Yeah, we'll leave that where it was. So I think relationships just in general, and especially boyfriend girlfriend, they just teach you a lot about who you are, your boundaries, what you're willing to put up with, and just kind of start to set that foundation for how you will be in a long-term relationship. And maybe that's why it took you a little bit longer too to meet someone. You were just waiting for that right person, which I think that is very admirable too.
yeah, well, I'll have stories of my own on how that
How that journey went.
That didn't always work out.
No.
How about any friendships that you still have today from high school, or?
I'm sad to say no, because I had this really tight group my senior year. There were four of us, and I ran cross country with one of the girls. She was new to the school, and I just adored her. She was so much fun, and we just got along so great. And then I mentioned Lisa. Lisa was part of that group, and then there was one other individual who, I would say she was more part of the popular crowd, if you will. But we were really tight for a long, or I shouldn't say long, for a good portion of our senior year. And then something very tragic happened, and one of the girls lost a boyfriend that, honestly, even back then, we all thought, man, this is her person. This is the person she's going to spend the rest of her life with. And he just had a really bad accident and passed away. And I remember that being so devastating for her. And I think I felt so deeply because of the closeness that I had with her, that I felt so deeply for her pain. And I don't know 100% if this is why we had the falling out, because I never really learned. But one day she just stopped being my friend, and she took one of the other girls with her. And Lisa tried to maintain friendship with both, but I never got the clarity of why that friendship ended. I think it was related to that when he passed, but I don't know. And so I would say that was kind of a very disappointing end to a friendship.
Yeah,
and I just,
sure.
It sucked. It sucked. I'm sure she had her reasons, and I'll probably never know what those reasons are. And that's totally fine. We all go through things, and sometimes, and maybe I did do something I'm just not aware of, right? But that's one of the things that I did learn from, and I take back into my friendships today is, if somebody says or does something, I'm going to tell you about it, because I don't want there to be a negative or long-term impact to a friendship. And a lot of times we don't know what we don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And so my senior year was full of a lot of good moments, but it was filled with a lot of hurt too. Way to bring us down. Good job, Deana.
Well, like you said, everything is a learning experience.
But I think we have somebody fun who I would say was one of your friends in high school, who now is at William Chris, that we get to see occasionally, and she's just one of the sweetest people.
Yes, Miss Rhonda. Yeah.
Do you have anyone that you connect with or see or still friends with at all?
No, I mean, there's people on Facebook that I see. And my senior year, Winnie and I were really good friends, but she was a grade ahead of me as well. And yeah, I mean, I keep up with her on social media, but yeah, there's nobody that.
I will say I did, after high school, I ended up working with one of the girls I graduated with, Ashley, and her and I got to be, I would say, pretty good friends. And, you know, I just don't keep in touch with people very well. I'm kind of bad at that.
Yeah. Well,
we all go on, live our lives, all that fun stuff.
Yeah, just a brief moment in time.
Yes.
Let's see.
Well, academic pressure. Did you feel that?
I don't necessarily think I felt pressure. I wanted to do well because I knew for me, college was a must. It wasn't anything that I feel like our parents were like, oh, you're going to do this. It was more of I didn't enjoy growing up being poor, and I wasn't going to go down that path for myself. I wanted to be successful. I didn't want to have to worry about money, and for me, college was just a no-brainer. So I just put it on myself to make good grades, but there wasn't a pressure to.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think I put my own pressure on myself, and I still do that today. When things are important to me, I am very hard on myself, and I put my own pressure on myself. But yes, there was a drive and a will to want to do well. And I remember, I think I surprised a few people in my grade because I ended up graduating 4th in my class. And I don't think people thought I was that smart. I don't know why. I guess I just wasn't a standout, but I really did work very, very hard for my grades. And I just remember there was this one girl and she was very intelligent, but she didn't come to Johnson City, I think, till her junior or senior year. And I don't know if maybe that's why, my GPA was a little bit higher than hers, something from her past. But I think she expected to be the top girl in the class, but I got that award.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I agree. Not a lot of pressure there. But overall, let's talk about some of our key defining moments and life impacting events. And prom. We haven't talked about prom at all.
Well, another thing that's not really exciting for me.
This is clearly not going to be Becky's favorite episode. This is going to be all about me.
I almost didn't go to prom my senior year because there was no one to go with, and I didn't want to go by myself. And I did have a dress picked out and everything, and I did end up going, but I think I remember crying that day because I wasn't feeling it, I guess. I don't know. So you go ahead.
I went to 3 years of prom.
I wasn't a popular girl.
Oh, for me it was all about the dress, right? I went 1 year with Cody. Two Codys. The first one was a different Cody.
Oh.
I think that was actually freshman year. And he was, I don't know, what do you call those? I don't know, he got to help out with the prom or whatever. There's like 2 female, I don't know. I don't remember what it was. But anyways, he invited me to go, and we knew each other through just family friends. And that one, and then I skipped 1 year because Cody and I were dating. I did get invited. but I didn't go because I had a boyfriend. And then junior year, Cody and I went together. And then senior year, that's when the twin.
Yeah.
My senior year prom was so much fun. The girls and I, all the girls in my grade, we did a dance. There was this, I can't remember what movie it was at that time, but there was this fun little catchy little dance. And so we did it, and at prom we had them play that song so we could do our little dance. It was probably stupid, but funny. We had a good time.
Yeah, this sounds like an episode of Mean Girls, if you know what I'm talking about.
My God. It really wasn't that bad. Oh, you know what? I cannot believe this hasn't come up in this episode, because this, to me, was some of the most fun in high school. Ed's River Palace.
Oh, yeah. That was a lot of fun.
So Ed's River Palace was a little dance hall in Johnson City, and people from Blanco, Johnson City, Marble Falls, Burnett would all come to this little dance hall on the weekends, and
you had to be 16 and over to get in, so we could get in.
Yep. And I remember spending a lot of time there.
Yeah. I do remember that too. Like, all the Johnson City high schoolers would be like in the corner by the stage.
Yeah, this is where I think you really, all the different little schools, like you'd all be in your little corners. And
yeah. And I even had my best friend from, like, when we were in elementary school, she lived in Comfort, and her boyfriend and her cousin, they would come on the weekends.
Yes.
And yeah, it was just a lot of fun.
I did do a disappearing act one time from Ed's River Palace. I think I freaked Becki out pretty good because she couldn't find me anywhere.
I don't remember this.
We'll just leave it at that then. But that was a lot of fun, and it kept us busy on the weekends when we didn't have anything, and that was a fond memory for me.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
So, I guess kind of your senior year, as you're getting ready to graduate, any defining moments or thoughts about leaving?
No, not really. So my senior year in basketball is when I hurt myself. I ended up having a tore ACL, tore meniscus, and so in May, was it May? Yeah, because I think I was walking across the stage, like barely out of crutches. So basketball, it was our playoff game.
Mm-hmm.
Our practice game before our playoff game, and yeah, ended up having to have surgery. But anyway, going down a rabbit hole here. Nothing. It was basically I'm going off. I'm doing my thing. I was nervous about it. I do remember that, but. And then I ended up coming home like almost every weekend, I think.
Because you missed me.
Oh, yes.
It was me.
Yeah.
It was definitely
Yeah,
me.
that was
you
it.
missed me.
Yeah. No, I think partially, like, there was a lot that happened in our space, and felt like my siblings didn't want them to be alone, and it was just like life got turned upside down, really. But as far as like going off to college, it was just another place where I didn't feel like I really fit in there either.
We'll talk about that in the next episode, though. We'll
Yeah.
dig into college a little bit.
Yeah.
I would say for me, my senior year was Penny's going from person to person over here trying to get attention. So my senior year was,
Hey, be nice.
while, I've talked about a lot of really good memories, was probably one of the most difficult times. I would say top probably 3 in my life, just because, and I think we've received some feedback that maybe on certain episodes we haven't gone deep enough, so maybe we'll go a little bit deeper on this one, because it really did impact my experience in high school, and how I felt about leaving. And so, remember when this first started coming up. I feel like it was right before the holidays was the first incident. Or was it after?
I don't remember. You know what? I think Lacey and Nadine came to get me in Seguin after I had my first bout with kidney stones, and I think that was like in January.
Okay, so really the last half of my senior year, and you know, I think we've had these conversations somewhat with our mother, and you know, we've made peace with some of these things, but our mother, you know, ended up having an affair that I think deeply impacted, well, all of us really. And I remember for me, our mom never missed a basketball game, ever. And I remember it being, and I believe it was parents' night, and I didn't have anybody there. And I had not heard anything from our mother. I didn't know where she was at, why she had missed the game, because she just, like I said, she just never missed a game. And I remember thinking to myself, something's happened, something's not right. And I think that's just when things kind of catapulted down a really negative path for my senior year experience in high school. And, you know, our mother continued with this relationship and ended up, you know, even marrying the guy at some point down the road. But there was one night too that I remember Stephen was at a conference in Austin, and I woke up to some woman banging on our front door. And I jumped out of bed and I ran to Mom and Stephen's room, and Audrey, Katie, and Mark were laying in her bed. And my mom was nowhere to be found. And I remember, and I don't know why I opened the door, but I did. And I just remember this woman just starts yelling at me in the middle of the night, asking where my mother was, and I finally just, in tears, slammed the door shut, locked it, ran and checked all the other doors to make sure they were locked. Because at this point, I knew it was just me and my 3 younger siblings in the house. And
you're in high school.
And I'm a high school, yeah, I'm a senior in high school, and I'm terrified about what's going on and their safety. And I just remember, I don't remember if Zeb was the first person I called or Steven, but it was one or the other. And Zeb ended up in that moment being able to kind of talk me down and get me calm, because I had no idea what was going on. And so the next morning, I had to get our siblings up and ready for school. And when every single one of them asked where Mom was, I had to lie to them. And just convince them that everything was okay, even though I didn't know. I had no clue. And so for me, that was just, and then to top things off, when I go outside, my car is gone. And so it was just all a very traumatic event. And I just remember going to school, and I'd had no sleep, and I was supposed to be retaking a test that I had missed. And I just physically and emotionally couldn't even take the test. I was so distraught by that experience, and I didn't know how to handle it. I didn't know how to process it. And so luckily,
why would you?
Yeah. Yeah. Luckily, my teacher noticed something was wrong, and she did allow me to take the test a different time, because it was just not something I was capable of doing. And then, so I just remember that taking a toll on my positive experience. And so I was ready to leave. I was ready to get out of there. I was ready to go to college. And so I remember my graduation just crying, just thinking, I can move on from this. I can be done with this and move on. And it wasn't, yay, I'm going to college, I'm going to do this. It was like, I'm done with this experience and I'm moving on. And it wasn't anything to do with high school. It was just, unfortunately, the events that happened with our mother just made that such a bitter experience for me.
Yeah. I can understand that.
Yep. But again, my experience, it's not going to be the same for anyone that listens. You know, if you've gone through something challenging, it's okay to feel the way that you feel.
Mm-hmm.
It's not placing blame or anything like that on anyone else. It's just sharing the experience.
Yes.
Man, I'm really good at bringing us down.
Well, I think it's been mainly me. Okay, so what's something that you're very proud of from high school?
Oh, well, I did talk about, you know, being the number 4, the top girl in my graduating class. I think that was a huge accomplishment. But I would say, other than that, I just would say, like, basketball was probably one of my favorite things that I experienced. And I did it very, very well. And, yeah, I think between the two, those would be mine.
Or how about going to state and cross country the first year you did it?
Yes, that's a pretty big one. I don't know why. I kind of see I erased a lot of memories here. But yes. So my friend that I was really close with early in the year that ran cross country, she was 7th in the state. She was amazing at it, but she pushed me, and her dad was our coach, and he was a fantastic coach. He was tough. And yes, I ended up 30 something in state that year, my senior year in cross country. So I had a lot of really big moments my senior year, both good and bad.
Yeah.
But yeah.
How about me? I don't really know. I don't know if my head is just not in it today or what. There's nothing really that sticks out that much for me. I think maybe just getting through it and moving on to the next stage in my life, I guess.
Yeah. I think realizing that, you know, everyone has their own struggles in some way is something that I would encourage high schoolers today, like, to have a little bit more, I think, thoughtfulness for others and the experiences that they are going through, because while we've had wildly different experiences, they maybe weren't necessarily good or bad or whatever, that's still a struggle to go through high school just trying to get by.
Yeah, and like you just never know what other people are going through. Like, you don't know what's going on in their home life. You don't know if they're being bullied, or you don't know if they're just struggling to try to fit in. And so,
well, and we're seeing so many more cases about child abuse. I just can't even fathom children that have to go through that. So yes, you never know what others are going through in their life. Anything you would do differently?
So I think that I would, instead of going straight to college, I think I would have gone to a junior college first instead. And maybe, you know, worked, taken night classes, because even when I went to college, like, I thought I wanted to be an interior designer. But I did end up changing my major. And even when I graduated, I was like, what am I going to do with this? But anyway, I think I would have gone to a good junior college instead and had that experience. I think I would have maybe gone to my counselor more and learned more about student loans.
Yes.
Because I am in a huge debt of student loans, and I could have done things a lot differently, I think. So I think those are 2 things probably that stick out that I would have done differently.
Yeah. I think if I were to do anything differently, I would probably, I think in because I could have used the support, I think I would have fought harder for those friendships that just kind of dissolve so quickly and rapidly. I think I would have, I don't know that there's anything I could have done, but I think I probably would have tried harder because I could have used that extra support.
Yeah, and maybe I would have taken more risks too, to like get to know more people or to try to be more outgoing. Like, I just was always kind of afraid to like put myself out there, and so maybe I would have taken more risks.
Yeah. Very good. Well, I think that covers quite a bit. Any last thoughts before I throw my last question at you?
No, I think I just going back to like people who are listening and to like, know that there's moments in time and they don't define us, but they, help us learn and help us grow and yeah.
And I would say the last thing I would say, because while I had some challenging experience in high school, is always try to find a way to make peace with those experiences that aren't the best. It did take me, some time to make peace with my mom, but I did. I made that peace because you never know when your time is up. And holding on to frustrations and feelings can only be more damaging to yourself.
Yeah.
So find a way to make peace with things, because it's good for your own health.
It certainly is.
All right, so now for the fun question.
Okay.
If Sadie, your lovely corgi, could speak, what would she tell us about you?
Oh, Sadie, what would you say about me? She would probably say, she tells me not to bark all the time, right?
Yes.
She would probably say that I am a good mom and that I am very patient and that I can be kind of goofy but that I love and support. I love hard and support the people that are important to me.
Very profound, Sadie. Thank you for that. I would agree, Sadie.
All right, my question. Is there anything, and it really has to do with this episode, because like as we're talking through it, and you kind of alluded to this in the beginning, that while we're so close, our experiences were quite different. Do you feel like we really did a lot together in high school? Because as we're reflecting on it, I'm like, I know we were always close, but like, is there like a standout memory outside of basketball? Because we have said that. Is there a standout memory of like a moment of us that like you really, really remember and really enjoy remembering?
Let's see. This is a good question. I feel like just going, and it wasn't even about school, but I feel like I just had so many fond memories of us going to Ed's River Palace together. I think that was just such a fun, good time. But I do remember, and I know you said I couldn't use basketball, but, and I think when I look back on just the experience in general, I know we were so close, because I think that's why my senior year was so hard, because you were off at college and I didn't have that. I mean, I had you, but you weren't right there with me. And so I know we were close, but I do remember this one time when we were playing basketball, and there were some girls on our team, and we didn't always see eye to eye. And I remember defending you one time when they had something not so nice to say, and I remember just letting them know that wasn't okay. And I think more so it's just that I know whether we remembered or not, we just had each other's back.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, well, hopefully this wasn't too painful to listen to, and that it wasn't all about me. And we'll see how the college years, which will be our next episode, plays out. But until then, thank you again for joining us.
Bye-bye.